Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty ambitious, really a full-on culinary and cultural mission.
It's a good way to put it.
We're going deep, tutorial level deep, into the Cherry Wrap Dynasty Preserves Part 2 collection. This is, well, it's a huge amount of material.
It really is. 23 distinct recipes. Each one is like a code, right?
Yeah.
A cipher for a really influential hip-hop crew or label.
Exactly. And it spans everything from that, aggressive golden age boom bap right the way through to the super experimental digital stuff we see later on.
And our goal today, for you listening,
Yep.
is to pull out every single tiny detail. We're not just talking about, oh, does it taste good?
No, much more than that.
We're diving into the technical side, the culinary production behind the beats, so to speak.
Yeah.
We need to dissect every single ingredient, understand the why behind every preparation method, every mechanism.
And the nutritional science, too. That's crucial.
Absolutely crucial. Think of this as, well, the ultimate intellectual shortcut to understanding some really advanced preservation techniques. We're breaking it all down.
I love that focus on technical mastery. And the core idea, this metaphor, 23 preserves, 23 crews, it's just so effective, isn't it?
It really lands. It shows how great flavor, just like great hip-hop, it's always changing, always evolving.
Bringing in new sounds, new techniques, different regional flows.
Exactly. But there's still that core quality, that essence that never really dies. And today we're really getting into the weeds on the science of preservation.
We really are. Looking through these recipes, we're way beyond just simple jams and jellies.
Oh, definitely. Our sources here, they guide us through confits, complex ferments, shrubs, reductions, even molecular gels, are pretty advanced stuff.
So for you listening, this is basically an instruction manual for some high-level culinary techniques, all built around, well, the amazing versatility of the cherry.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm.
Let's dive right in. The first section is all about that hardcore sound, that unapologetic, aggressive flow.
Okay, kicking things off with a recipe that is just pure fire. It really mirrors that raw energy of early Def Jam, doesn't it? It's the cherry ghost pepper jam called Onyx Back to Few Cup Fire, and it clocks in at 195 calories per serving.
Yeah, this one definitely makes a statement. The flavor profile is aggressively savory, but with that essential sweet backbone.
So let's break down those ingredients. How do they create that intensity?
Well, you start with sweet cherries. They're absolutely vital, providing the sugar structure, the body, and crucially, the balance. You need that sweetness to stand up to the heat.
The heat coming from the ghost pepper, which is legendary.
Infamous, really. Its heat is just nuclear.
Mm.
But what pushes this firmly into savory territory are the other players. Brown sugar for depth, smoked paprika, cumin, coriander, garlic powder.
And this is interesting, a dash of liquid smoke. What's that doing in there?
That liquid smoke is key to the analogy, I think. It adds this almost charred, really raw edge to the profile. It mimics that gritty, unpolished, rough around the edges sound engineering you hear on Onyx records.
That makes perfect sense, and the technique is appropriately named the slam method. What does that involve?
It's all about immediacy, raw power. Instead of gently simmering the cherries whole, you intentionally crush them right at the start.
Okay, so you're breaking them down immediately.
Exactly. It releases their essence instantly and helps maintain this really chunky, substantial texture. It's not smooth, it hits you fast and hard, like the music.
Now the ghost pepper. We have to talk practicality and, frankly, safety here. For anyone attempting this slam method, what's the absolute critical instruction regarding that pepper?
Use the smallest amount you think you need, and maybe even less than that. Seriously, the source material is very clear. The heat level is extreme, and it builds, it creeps up on you.
So it's not just initial heat, it intensifies over time.
Precisely. This isn't just about adding flavor. It's about managing a really potent concentration of capsaicin. You cook this jam down until it's thick enough to actually spread, but you want it still fluid enough to pour. It needs to capture that instant, unbridled intensity that defined the Back to Few Cup album.
And where would you actually use this? It's clearly not for your morning scope.
No, absolutely not. The application is specific. Serve this with something robust that can handle it. Grilled beef, a really hearty burger. It's for when the meal needs that serious, dominating heat profile that just refuses to be ignored.
Nutritionally speaking, even with all that fire, what stands out?
Well, obviously the highlight is the extreme capsaicin content. That's the compound giving the heat. And it's often linked with potential metabolic benefits, so you'd need a lot. But what's surprising, maybe, is despite the cooking and the intense chili, the cherries hold their own.
Meaning?
Meaning this jam is still a surprisingly strong source of vitamin C. It delivers about 31% of your daily value per serving. So you get the heat and some vitamins.
Okay, from the raw energy of New York hardcore, we're shifting gears and heading south, straight down to Port Arthur, Texas for that smooth, that trill southern flow of UGK.
Right. This is the cherry bourbon chutney UGK Trill Southern. Slightly lower calorie count here, 175 per serving.
And this one is built around what the source calls the Pimp C and Bun B process. What does that imply?
Patience
Yeah.
and regional specificity. The whole recipe is defined by taking your time and using authentic Southern ingredients. It starts with sour cherries for tartness, which is a nice contrast to the sweet cherries in the Onyx jam.
But the real foundation, the sort of rhythmic base, seems to be the onions.
Absolutely. But not just any onions, and not just a few. We're talking 6 large Vidalia onions, a huge amount.
6, wow. And the crucial instruction is they have to be caramelized low and slow. Why is that step so non-negotiable for this chutney? You can't rush it.
You absolutely cannot rush it. If you cook them too fast on high heat, you just end up with, well, sautéed onions. They'll be soft, maybe a little brown, but they won't have that depth.
So what does low and slow achieve?
It allows the natural sugars within the Vidalia onions to fully develop and caramelize properly. They break down, melt, and transform into this profoundly complex, deeply sweet, almost jammy, savory base. It takes time. Just like UGK built their reputation on undeniable quality without ever rushing the process, this preserve relies on that deep, unhurried flavor development. Patience is the key ingredient.
I also noticed some very specific regional additions in the ingredient list. Bourbon, of course.
Right, described as adding that necessary Texas heat. It's not just about the alcohol, it's about that specific warm character.
And sorghum syrup. Now, for listeners who might not be familiar, what exactly is sorghum and why is it specified here for authentic Southern sweetness?
Sorghum is a type of grass, and the syrup made from its stalk is a traditional sweetener, especially in the American South. It's similar to molasses, but generally lighter, maybe a bit cleaner tasting, less bitter.
So using sorghum instead of, say, corn syrup or regular sugar.
It immediately signals an authentic, respected regional approach. It's about honoring the source, the tradition. And then you layer on those classic Southern spices. Allspice, cinnamon, cloves, a couple bay leaves, and some fresh thyme. They add that lush, almost orchestral complexity you hear in UGK's production.
So this chutney is designed to be the perfect partner for classic Southern dishes.
Exactly. Serve it alongside barbecue pulled pork, brisket, or spread it generously on warm cornbread. It really bridges that gap between traditional comfort food and something a little more innovative.
Let's look at the nutrition. What jumps out?
It's actually quite high in fiber, providing 18% of your daily value. That's largely thanks to that massive quantity of caramelized onions, plus some golden raisins in there too.
But there's a flip side.
There is. You need to be aware of the sodium content. It's 385 milligrams per serving, which is 17% of the daily value. That's significantly higher than your average fruit jam. But it's necessary for that savory, complex chutney profile. It needs that salt for balance.
Okay, rounding out this first aggressive flow section, we hit EPMD. Their whole vibe was about precision, business, making dollars.
Right. Business, never personal. And this recipe reflects that perfectly. It's the cherry pancetta confit, EPMD, business, never personal. And notice the calorie count, 295 per serving. This is rich.
And highly technical, it sounds like. We're talking confit here.
Absolutely. This is where we step into really specialized culinary territory. A confit, just for clarity for everyone listening, is a classic French preservation technique. Traditionally, you slowly cook food, often meat like duck, in its own fat at a very low temperature.
But here we're using it for cherries.
Exactly. It tenderizes the food incredibly, while the fat acts as a seal, preserving it. Here, we're applying that logic to fruit, using rendered pork fat.
The ingredients sound luxurious already, whole sweet cherries, but they need to be tricked.
Yes, whole, sweet cherries, carefully pricked. Then rendered pancetta fat, a significant amount, 3/4 of a cup. Plus, some diced pancetta for texture and flavor, fresh sage, smashed garlic cloves, bay leaves, lemon peel, black peppercorns. It's complex.
And the method is called the Eric and Parrish making dollars method. It emphasizes one very specific, highly critical temperature.
It does. This is where the precision comes in. First, you have to slowly render the pancetta until the fat is completely clear and liquid. That takes patience. But then, the absolutely crucial, almost surgical step. You must heat that rendered fat to exactly 165 degrees Fahrenheit.
Exactly 165, not 160, not 170. That sounds incredibly demanding for a home cook. Is that level of precision truly essential, or is it a bit of culinary showing off?
No, it's genuinely essential for confit for two main reasons: safety and texture. The fat needs to be hot enough to drive out and displace any water content from the surface of the fruit. Water is the enemy of preservation, is where spoilage starts.
Okay, so it sterilizes and seals.
Right. But critically, it has to be low enough not to actually fry or rapidly cook the cherries. You want a very gentle, slow infusion. That 165 degrees Fahrenheit hits the sweet spot. It activates the preservation properties slowly and ensures a consistent, tender texture, not mushy or tough.
And the process also requires painstakingly pricking each individual cherry. Why is that necessary? Seems like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but it's vital. Pricking does two things. First, it creates tiny escape routes for steam, preventing the cherries from bursting as they heat up in the fat. Second, and more importantly for flavor, it allows that rich, savory pancetta fat to slowly penetrate into the fruit over the long cooking time.
How long are we talking?
The source specifies a 2 to 3 hour infusion period at that precise temperature. That slow, meticulous infusion, letting the fat permeate the fruit, that's the business model of the confit. It's maximizing flavor integration and longevity. It's about the investment paying off.
Okay, let's be very clear about the nutritional profile here, because 295 calories is the highest we've seen.
It is, and it's driven by the fat content. This preserve is extremely high in fat due to the pancetta and the fat it's cooked in. We're looking at total fat of 27 grams per serving. That's 35% of your daily value.
And saturated fat.
Also very high, 10 grams of saturated fat, which is 50% of the daily value. This is undeniably rich, decadent stuff.
And the sodium must be up there, too, with the pancetta.
Correct. Preservation techniques like confit often rely on both salt and fat. The sodium here is intense. 1,120 milligrams, a whopping 49% of the daily value per serving. This is not an everyday item.
But is there any nutritional upside, or is it purely about indulgence?
There's a significant upside in the type of fat. While the saturated fat is high, the source notes that this confit provides 15 grams of beneficial monounsaturated fat per serving, derived from that rendered pancetta fat. So it's not all bad news from a fat perspective.
And the application reflects this richness.
Absolutely. This is designed for high-end use. Serve small amounts on grilled artisanal bread, maybe alongside some sharp aged cheeses like Parmesan or Pecorino. It's a demonstration of serious technique meant to be savored.
All right, let's shift the vibe now. We're moving into the smoother, more experimental, definitely more soulful side of the collection. Kicking this section off with the playful funk and P-funk influence of Digital Underground.
Yeah, this is the cherry coconut compote, Digital Underground Humpty Dance, much lighter at 145 calories.
And the technique is called the Shock G method. It sounds like fun just from the name.
It is. It's a brilliant, playful fusion. It deliberately combines ingredients that might seem a little unexpected together, but they create this really surprising, groovy harmony. We're using sweet cherries again, but pairing them with thick coconut cream.
Coconut cream. Okay, that's the tropical element.
Exactly. It brings this unexpected richness, this smooth, deep, rhythmic bass. Almost like how P-Funk samples underpin so much early 90s hip-hop, right? Then you add coconut palm sugar for a less refined sweetness, lime juice and zest for brightness, a splash of coconut rum for warmth.
Coconut rum, too. Nice touch.
Yeah, and then some really interesting spices, cardamom and ginger, plus fresh mint for coolness. And it's finished with toasted coconut flakes for texture.
So what's the key technical instruction here? How do you get those elements to work together without becoming a mess?
The genius is in the gentle handling. You cook the cherries just enough to soften them, but crucially, you want them to maintain their shape, their character. You don't want mush. The coconut cream provides that luxurious richness around the cherries.
And the rum and flakes.
The coconut rum adds that subtle warmth, kind of blooms in the background. And those toasted coconut flakes stirred in at the end are essential. They provide textural contrast. You can't be all smooth and creamy. You need those little moments of crunch, those little surprises, just like in their music.
This sounds predominantly like a dessert application.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's described as the perfect topping for coconut ice cream, double coconut. Or use it to really elevate pancakes or waffles for a creative breakfast.
Nutritionally, the coconut cream is the main factor to consider.
Yes, that's where the fat comes from. We're looking at 7 grams of saturated fat per serving, which is 35% of the daily value. It's entirely derived from the coconut cream.
But there's a distinction with coconut fat, right?
There is. Coconut cream is also a known source of beneficial MCT fats, medium-chain triglycerides. These are interesting because they're metabolized differently by the body, often more quickly converted to energy rather than stored. So while the saturated fat number looks high, the type of fat is somewhat unique.
Okay, next up, we're embracing deep Southern authenticity. This is the cherry pecan conserve Goody Mob soul food, 185 calories.
Yeah, this recipe is explicitly about celebrating Georgia ingredients and that strong sense of regional pride you hear in Goody Mob's music.
And the method is called the silo and big gip process. Authenticity is the key word.
Paramount. It uses chunked sweet cherries, turbinado sugar for a molasses note, orange juice and zest, and a warm spice blend, cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom. But the non-negotiable elements, the ones the source really emphasizes.
Let me guess. Georgia pecans.
Absolutely. The nuts must be toasted Georgia pecans, and the bourbon added must be Georgia-sourced bourbon. It's about the terroir, that sense of place.
That mirrors the themes of the Soul Food album, perfectly local ingredients, local sounds representing where you're from. Now, technically, how do you make a conserve like this, especially ensuring the pecans don't just get soft and disappear into the mix?
Good question. The key is twofold. First, you toast the pecans separately until they're golden brown and fragrant. That does more than just add flavor. It also firms them up slightly and anchors that nutty characteristic.
And the second part?
The cooking process requires careful attention. You need to cook the mixture long enough for the cherries to break down and release their pectin, binding the conserve together into a thick, spreadable consistency. But you have to stop before the pecans lose their structure. They need to retain that characteristic crunch. If you overcook it, the crunch is gone, and the whole textural experience is compromised.
So finding that perfect balance point, where would you serve this?
It's described as an excellent pairing with sharp, aged cheddar cheese. That sweet, nutty, tart combo is classic. Or keep it southern and spread it on traditional buttermilk biscuits.
Nutritionally, the pecans are the star.
Definitely. They contribute most of the fat content, making it fairly high in total fat, 14G, 18% DV, but it's mostly healthy, unsaturated fats. What's really exceptional here, though, is the mineral content. This conserve is incredibly rich in manganese, providing 1.2 milligrams, which is 52% of your daily value.
And manganese is important for
It plays a vital role in lots of bodily functions. Bone formation, blood clotting, metabolism, reducing inflammation. So, a nice nutritional bonus from those Georgia pecans.
Okay, let's jump forward slightly in the list, but continue this theme of Southern consciousness. We're looking at cherry orange marmalade, Arrested Development, Tennessee, 155 calories here.
Right. This one reflects Arrested Development's deliberate, conscious approach, bridging different regions and ingredients with a positive message. It uses sour cherries again for tartness, but pairs them with navel oranges.
And specifically, it uses both the orange peel and the segments.
Yes, that's key for marmalade. You need the peel for texture and those essential citrus oils, and the segments for the juicy fruit body. It uses turbinado sugar again, water, a touch of bourbon for that southern warmth nodding to Tennessee, and spices like ginger, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg.
The technical highlight here seems really crucial for anyone making citrus preserves at home. You have to julienne the orange peel very thinly.
Yes, precision cutting is important for the final texture.
And then the recipe mandates blanching that orange peel 3 separate times. Why? Why the triple blanching? Seems excessive.
It's absolutely essential for good marmalade. Citrus peel, especially the white pith underneath the zest, contains bitter compounds called limonoids and naringin. If you don't deal with that bitterness, your final marmalade will be harsh, maybe even inedible.
So blanching removes the bitterness.
Exactly. Blanching involves briefly boiling the peel in water and then immediately plunging it into ice-cold water to stop the cooking. Repeating this process 3 times systematically leaches out most of those bitter compounds.
But does it wash away the flavor too?
That's the beauty of it. It removes the bitterness while retaining the aromatic essential oils in the zest and keeping the peel's vibrant color intact. It's the critical step that separates a bright, flavorful marmalade from a bitter disappointment. Precision pays off.
And that precision certainly pays off nutritionally in this case.
It really does. Because it uses so much of the orange, both peel and segments, this marmalade becomes our nutritional vitamin C champion. It delivers a remarkable 52 milligrams per serving. That's 58% of your daily value.
Wow, that's significant.
Very significant. It also provides a good amount of folate and that beneficial aromatic compound limone, which is found in citrus peels and is associated with antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. Perfect spread on buttermilk biscuits, as you might expect, or used as a glaze for ham.
Okay, let's wrap up the Southern evolution section with a look towards the future, but still rooted in tradition. It's cherry bourbon vanilla syrup, Outcast Acleans, 165 calories.
This one is all about concentration and high creativity, just like Outcast themselves.
Oh.
The method is called the Andre 3000 and Big Boy method, and it's described as a maximalist process.
Maximalist how?
It starts with ultra-concentrated cherry juice, not just regular juice, but juice that's been significantly reduced. Then organic sugar, Kentucky bourbon, nodding to their southern roots but maybe a bit more refined, heavy cream and butter for richness, sea salt for balance, and spices. But the absolute key to the complex flavor.
Let me guess. Vanilla.
Yes, but not just extract. 3 whole vanilla beans, which must be split lengthwise and scraped. That's a serious investment in vanilla flavor.
Okay, let's unpack that. Ultra concentrated cherry juice. What does that reduction process actually involve, and how does that intensity mirror Outcast's dense, layered production style?
It means taking cherry juice and simmering it down, boiling off a large amount of the water content. This intensely concentrates the natural fruit essence, the sugars, the acidity. It creates profound depth and thickness from a simple starting point.
Like they layered samples and sounds.
Exactly. You're taking a basic element, the juice, and layering it with intense, specific, high-quality flavors. The aged complexity of the bourbon, the richness of the cream and butter, and critically, that deep aromatic vanilla.
And the method specifically says to use both the scraped vanilla seeds and the pods themselves during the infusion.
Yes, that detail is fantastic. It really reflects that waste nothing, maximize everything philosophy you hear in their musical evolution. The tiny seeds provide that immediate visual appeal and intense flavor burst. But the pods themselves contain huge amounts of vanillin and other aromatic compounds that slowly dissolve into the warm syrup during the infusion. Using both gives you the absolute maximum vanilla impact.
And the cream and butter.
They're added towards the end to provide that luxurious, velvety, smooth mouthfeel. It turns it from a simple syrup into something truly high-end, decadent.
So clearly meant for more luxurious applications.
Definitely. Drizzling over a warm peach cobbler feels very appropriate. Or using it to flavor sophisticated coffee drinks, maybe even cocktails.
And the flavor profile highlights.
It's defined by that intense vanillin from the beans and supporting notes from spices like cardamom. Despite the cream and butter giving it that luxurious feel, the saturated fat is actually moderate, around 3 grams or 15% DV, because the base is that concentrated juice reduction, not primarily dairy.
Okay, buckle up. We're now entering the really technical, the experimental, the fusion-driven section of the preserves. This is where the culinary techniques get as boundary-pushing and, frankly, as complex as the artists themselves.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting from a process perspective. We start with something that sounds intriguing. The cherry goat cheese curd. Cypress Hill. Insane in the membrane. 215 calories. Capturing that trippy, mellow, yet intense vibe.
A cherry curd with goat cheese. That's unusual.
It is, and it's technically challenging. It demands perfection in texture. The ingredients sound relatively simple. Cherry puree, fresh goat cheese, egg yolks, raw honey for sweetness, heavy cream, a splash of cherry brandy, lime juice, vanilla, a surprising hint of black pepper, and even hemp seeds for garnish.
But the process, the Be Real and Sendog method, seems to hinge entirely on achieving a specific texture. It mandates passing the cherry puree through the finest mesh strainer possible. Why that extreme focus on filtration for making a curd?
Because a fruit curd is essentially a type of delicate custard. Its smooth, rich texture relies on the careful coagulation of egg yolks and dairy, in this case cream and goat cheese, gently cooked and thickened, usually tempered by the acidity of fruit juice or puree.
So any solids would ruin it?
Precisely. Any tiny bits of fiber or skin left in the cherry puree would completely disrupt that delicate structure. You'd end up with a grainy, unpleasant texture instead of that perfectly smooth, silky curd. It must be flawlessly smooth before you even start cooking.
And then the goat cheese.
You whisk the fresh goat cheese until it's light and fluffy, incorporating air, before gently combining it with the super smooth puree, egg yolks, and other ingredients. Then the cooking requires very gentle, consistent heat and constant stirring or whisking to prevent scrambling the eggs. It develops slowly, you can't rush it.
Let's talk about the nutritional impact of blending cherries with dairy, specifically goat cheese and cream and eggs.
Yeah, this one's an outlier nutritionally because of the dairy base. It's incredibly rich, particularly in saturated fat. We're talking 12 grams per serving. That's 60% of the daily value. So definitely an indulgence.
But does it bring any benefits from the dairy?
It does. That goat cheese and cream make it a powerhouse for bone health. It provides high levels of calcium, 19% DV, and also significant vitamin A, 18% DV, mostly from the egg yolks and dairy fat.
And how would you use this rich curd?
It's described as a luxurious filling for small tart shells, or simply served alongside crisp crackers or maybe even some fruit, allowing that unique, tangy, sweet, creamy flavor profile to shine.
Okay, moving from that mellow LA funk fusion straight to, well, pure New York rebellion. This sounds wild. Cherry miso ferment, Beastie Boys, licensed to ill, only 125 calories, but conceptually radical.
Radical is the word. This is the MCA, Mike D, and Adrock method, and it's a true fusion, bringing Japanese fermentation techniques crashing into American fruit. The core mechanism here isn't cooking. It's a controlled fermentation that takes place over 5 to 7 days.
Fermenting cherries with miso. How does that even work?
You take halved sweet cherries and combine them in a jar with white miso paste. The miso is the key. You also add rice wine vinegar, mirin, sweet Japanese rice wine, a touch of sesame oil, fresh ginger, garlic, scallions, and even a splash of sake.
Okay, hold on. For listeners, let's clarify. What exactly is miso, and why is it the engine driving this fermentation? It's not just for soup.
Definitely not just for soup. Miso is a traditional Japanese paste, usually made by fermenting soybeans, sometimes with rice or barley, using a specific mold called koji, Aspergillus oryza, and various beneficial bacteria and yeasts.
So it's packed with microbes.
Exactly. In this recipe, the white miso acts as the fermentation starter. It provides the necessary living cultures, primarily yeasts and lactic acid bacteria. It also contributes that deep, savory, complex flavor known as umami. And crucially, its enzymes start breaking down the cherry sugars, transforming them into something entirely new, funky, tangy, deeply savory, yet still fruity.
And the instructions stress daily tasting during that 5-7 day period. Why is that monitoring so critical? Is fermentation unpredictable?
It absolutely is. Fermentation is a living, dynamic process. The flavor changes day by day, sometimes hour by hour, depending on temperature. You have to taste it daily to catch it at its peak, that perfect balance point where you have the sweet cherry, the developing tartness, the savory umami from the miso, and that desirable funk.
And if you let it go too long?
It can easily over-ferment, becoming unpleasantly sour or developing off flavors. That daily tasting allows you to halt the process right when it hits that sweet spot. It's controlled culinary rebellion.
How do you use this creation? It sounds intense.
It is intense. The suggestion is to eat small amounts straight, almost like a probiotic pickle or condiment, to get that direct hit of flavor and beneficial bacteria. Or use it more sparingly as a bold, umami-rich condiment for something like grilled salmon or perhaps even pork.
Now, we absolutely must highlight the nutritional warning associated with using miso paste so prominently.
This is critical, yes. Miso is inherently very high in sodium as part of how it's preserved.
Yeah.
Because this recipe uses a significant amount of miso paste as the base for the ferment, the resulting product is extremely high in sodium. We're talking 1,680 milligrams per serving, which is 73% of the daily value.
Wow, 73%. So this needs to be used very, very sparingly.
Absolutely. Think of it as a flavor concentrate, not something you eat by the spoonful. The significant upside, however, offsetting that sodium warning, is the very high probiotics content from the live fermentation, plus beneficial compounds like isoflavones from the soy and the miso, which have been linked to various health benefits.
Okay, next up, we have concentrated flavor representing concentrated consciousness. It's cherry chili leather, Public Enemy black steel, lower calorie at 115.
Yeah, the Flavor Flav hype method here is all about maximum flavor concentration and preservation through dehydration, creating something portable and intense.
Fruit leather, basically, but with a serious edge.
Exactly. It starts with highly concentrated cherry puree. Again, that reduction step is key. Then it's blended with chipotle chili powder for smoky heat, agave nectar for sweetness, lime juice for brightness, and a complex savory spice blend. Cumin, smoked paprika, cayenne for extra kick, and coriander.
Let's talk about that reduction step again. The source describes slowly reducing the cherry puree until it's thick, quote, like concentrated knowledge. Why is that initial intense reduction so important before you even think about dehydrating it?
Reducing the puree significantly before spreading it does two crucial things. First, it massively concentrates the cherry flavor and the added spices, making the final leather much more intense. Second, it removes a large percentage of the water content up front.
Which makes dehydration faster and safer.
Precisely. Less water means a much shorter drying time in the dehydrator, which saves energy and time. More importantly, removing that moisture drastically reduces the risk of mold growth or spoilage during the dehydration process or later during storage. If you try to dehydrate a thin, watery puree, it takes forever and might not dry evenly, leading to a brittle or sticky product, or one that goes bad quickly.
Okay, so concentration first. Then comes the actual dehydration. This sounds like another lengthy process.
It is. You have to spread the thick, reduced mixture very evenly onto dehydrator sheets lined with parchment or silicone mats. Uneven thickness means uneven drying. Then it requires dehydrating at a low temperature, 135 degrees Fahrenheit, for a full 20 to 24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah, it's a slow, patient process. You need that low heat over a long time to gently remove the remaining moisture without cooking or scorching the leather. The goal is to dry it until it peels cleanly away from the sheet. It's flexible but not sticky.
And the result is this portable, nutrient-dense strip.
Exactly. Perfect for rolling into scrolls, for hiking, snacking, on-the-go nutrition with a serious kick. And nutritionally, despite the dehydration, it holds onto its vitamins remarkably well. It remains a vitamin C champion at 45 milligram, that's 50% DV, plus you get the high capsaicin from the chipotle and cayenne, and good levels of beta-carotene from the cherries.
Cypress Hill makes a second appearance now, this time really leaning into that smoky, intense, Latin-influenced heat they often had. It's the cherry chipotle mostarda. Cypress Hill, how I could just kill a man, 195 calories.
Right, this is the insane in the brain method, part 2 maybe, but focused on a different kind of intensity. First, we need to define mostarda for everyone.
Good idea. It sounds Italian.
It is. A mostarda is a traditional Italian condiment, typically made from candied fruit preserved in a mustard-flavored syrup. The key characteristic is that sweet fruit element combined with the pungent heat of mustard, often from mustard essential oil or mustard seeds.
So this is a cherry version with a smoky twist.
Exactly. They use sweet cherries, but importantly, they're large diced to maintain texture. Then Dijon mustard for a sharp base, apple cider vinegar for acidity, agave for sweetness, and the crucial element, chipotle peppers in adobo sauce.
Ah, the adobo sauce brings the smoke and extra depth.
Precisely. Plus yellow mustard seeds. And the technical highlight focuses specifically on those seeds. The recipe dictates that you must toast the yellow mustard seeds in a dry pan until they start to pop before incorporating them. Why bother toasting them?
Does it change the flavor?
Significantly. Toasting mustard seeds does two things. It develops their inherent nutty flavor, making them less raw and bitter. More importantly, the heat helps to release and activate the compound responsible for mustard's pungent heat, allyl isothiocyanate. Toasting makes that heat bloom, creating a much more complex and robust heat profile compared to just throwing in raw seeds.
So it's a deeper, more rounded heat.
Exactly. And that adobo sauce is essential too, providing not just smokiness but also its own vinegary tang and complex chili notes. The goal is a multi-dimensional condiment, not just sweet fruit with a one-note mustard kick.
Given the mustard, the adobo, the vinegar, I'm guessing this is another high-sodium preserve.
You guessed correctly. The sodium is quite high here.
Yeah.
1,240 milligrams per serving. That's 54% of the daily value. Again, this is a powerful condiment designed to be used sparingly.
And the suggested pairings reflect that.
Yes. Serve it with rich, fatty meats where its acidity and heat can cut through things like grilled carnitas, Mexican pulled pork, or maybe sausages. It's also suggested with sharp aged cheeses like a Spanish manchego, where it provides a fantastic sweet, savory, spicy contrast. Nutritionally, we focus on that active compound allyl isothiocyanate from the mustard seeds, along with the high capsaicin from the chipotles.
All right, let's shift gears slightly to the youthful energy and innovative spirit of leaders of the new school. This sounds fascinating. Cherry tahini paste, leaders of the new school, a future without a past. 165 calories.
Yeah, this is pure fusion, representing that youthful creativity, blending Middle Eastern and American flavors in a way that felt really fresh. The Busta Rhymes energy, as the source calls it.
So what's in this paste?
It combines diced sweet cherries with tahini paste, that's ground sesame seeds, a staple in Middle Eastern cuisine, then honey for sweetness, lemon juice for brightness, and two really sophisticated, slightly unusual flavorings: pomegranate molasses and rosewater, plus a complex spice blend: cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, cloves.
Tahini is oil-based, essentially.
Yeah.
How do you successfully blend that with cooked fruit without it separating or becoming greasy? What's the process?
That's the key technical challenge. First, you cook the diced cherries briefly, just enough to soften them slightly,
Right.
but you want them to retain some texture, some bite. You don't want a smooth puree here. Then, crucially, you whisk the tahini, honey, lemon juice, pomegranate molasses, and rose water together separately in a bowl until they form a smooth, stable emulsion.
Like making a vinaigrette almost.
Sort of, yeah. You need to get that oil-based tahini fully incorporated with the liquids before introducing the fruit. Once you have that smooth paste, you gently fold in the warm, softened cherries. The pomegranate molasses is vital here too. It provides this deep, tangy, almost fruity acidity that perfectly balances the richness of the tahini and the sweetness of the honey.
And the rose water adds.
Just a subtle floral note, a hint of the exotic. It's used sparingly.
Nutritionally, tahini is the star here, providing the main benefits.
Absolutely. Tahini is a fantastic food. It's packed with healthy, unsaturated fats, protein, and important minerals. This paste becomes a wonderful source of healthy fats and provides notable amounts of calcium, around 9% DV, and magnesium, about 7% DV, both important for bone health and muscle function.
And how would you use this paste?
It's suggested for spreading on warm pita bread, maybe as part of a mezz platter, or serve it as a nutrient-dense dip with vegetable sticks or crackers. It's a really unique flavor profile.
Okay, next up, we're looking at Brand Nubian. Their focus was often on unity, consciousness, finding balance.
Right, and this recipe translates that into flavor. Cherry, sherry gastric, Brand Nubian, all for one. Relatively low calorie at 135.
Now, gastrique, that's another culinary term we need to define.
It is. A gastrique is a classic French sauce base. It's made by caramelizing sugar and then deglazing the pan, dissolving the caramelized sugar with vinegar. You then often add fruit juice or stock and reduce it down to a syrupy consistency. The result is a perfect balance of sweet and sour with real depth.
So it's all about that sweet-sour balance. And the method here, the Lord Jamar and Sadat X method, relies again on reduction.
Yes, it starts by reducing cherry juice significantly to concentrate that pure fruit essence and build viscosity, creating a thickness the source describes metaphorically as like knowledge.
Yeah.
Deep and substantial.
And then the sherry and vinegar come in.
Exactly. But it specifies cream sherry, which is a sweeter, richer style of sherry, providing complexity and body. And that sweetness is balanced by sherry vinegar, which brings the necessary sharp acidic counterpoint. That vinegar is crucial. It has to cut through the sweetness of the reduced juice and the cream sherry. Otherwise, you just end up with a cloying syrup.
So the vinegar provides the conscious edge, maybe.
You could definitely see it that way. It brings clarity and sharpness to the richness. The final technical cue is classic. You cook it down until the resulting syrup visibly coats the back of a spoon and holds a line when you draw your finger through it. That tells you the viscosity is right.
And the nutritional focus here.
Since it involves wine and concentrated fruit, the focus is on the compounds potentially concentrated during the reduction. Specifically, resveratrol, an antioxidant found in grapes and cherries, and the general high antioxidants content from both the fruit and the sherry wine base.
And its use.
It's designed as a sophisticated finishing drizzle. Perfect over-roasted pork loin, duck breast, or even grilled vegetables like Brussels sprouts or eggplant, adding that complex, sweet and sour finish.
Finally, in this highly technical section, we arrive at Blackalicious and their renowned lyrical precision.
Yes, the cherry red wine reduction, Blackalicious alphabet aerobics, lowest calorie in this section at 115.
And the gift of Gab and Chief Excel method again emphasizes extreme concentration. Seems to be a theme.
It is, especially for these richer, more complex flavors. It starts, once again, with ultra-concentrated cherry juice. This is then blended with a full-bodied red wine, think Cabernet Sauvignon, or Merlot, plus honey for sweetness, and balsamic vinegar.
Balsamic vinegar and red wine, why both? Isn't the red wine acidic enough, especially when reduced?
That's a great question. While the red wine provides some acidity, balsamic vinegar adds a different kind of acidity. It's deeper, more complex, often with notes of wood aging and cooked fruit. It provides a layer of sophistication and prevents the final reduction from becoming just fruity and sweet or one-dimensionally tart from the wine alone. It adds complexity.
Like layering rhymes.
Exactly like layering rhymes. And then they add a really sharp, interesting spice mix. Cracked black pepper, allspice, star anise, bay leaves, and rosemary. Those specific choices, especially the cracked black pepper and the pungent star anise, add unexpected, sharp, almost percussive layers of flavor that really reward careful tasting. It demands your attention.
Can nutritionally similar to the gastrique.
Even more so, potentially. The extreme concentration of both the cherry juice and the full-bodied red wine, plus the balsamic, makes this a nutritional powerhouse in terms of antioxidants. We're talking very high antioxidants and likely a significant resveratrol content, making it incredibly nutrient-dense despite the very low calorie count per serving.
And the ideal use for this reduction.
It's described as the perfect finishing drizzle for richer meats, where its acidity and complexity can shine, like grilled lamb chops or maybe venison. Also excellent over roasted root vegetables.
Okay, we're moving into the final phase now. This is where the hip-hop influences and the preservation techniques get really innovative, sometimes abstract, maybe jazz-influenced, definitely celebratory.
Yeah, this is the cutting edge of the collection, you could say. First up, we have Diggable Planets, known for their cool, jazzy, abstract vibe.
Then the preserve reflects that. Cherry yuzu gel, Diggable Planets Reachin', very low calorie, just 105.
This is the butterfly and doodlebug method, and the source describes it as basically edible art, requiring molecular gastronomy techniques.
Molecular gastronomy. Okay, explain.
It starts with crystal clear cherry juice, not cloudy, perfectly transparent. Then yuzu juice, and zest yuzu is that amazing Japanese citrus, like a floral lemon-grapefruit hybrid. Raw honey for sweetness, a hint of ginger and cardamom, and the absolutely critical ingredient, agar powder.
Agar powder, we need to define that. And why does the juice have to be crystal clear?
Okay, two things. Agar powder, or agar-agar, is a natural gelling agent derived from seaweed. Unlike pectin, which we use for traditional jams and jellies and creates a softer set, agar creates a much firmer, more brittle, almost glass-like gel. It's heat-stable too. Using agar immediately signals a move into modern molecular technique.
And the clarity.
The juice must be crystal clear for aesthetic reasons, primarily. Think about it. If you're making a precise, jewel-like gel, any cloudiness or sediment would completely ruin the visual effect. It would look muddy. Achieving that clarity likely requires advanced techniques like enzyme clarification or maybe even freeze filtration methods used in high-end kitchens and food science labs. It's about purity of color and the precision of the final gel structure.
So this is really less about bulk preservation and much more about aesthetics and delivering a pure, intense flavor essence.
Exactly. It's designed to showcase the pure essence of cherry, elevated and brightened by that complex floral citrus note of the yuzu. It's not something you'd spread on toast.
How would you use it then?
The suggestions are as an elegant palate cleanser between courses in a fancy meal or as a component in a composed modern dessert edible art, basically. Nutritionally, it's still high in vitamin C, 42% DV, thanks to the cherry and yuzu juices, and it features the aromatic compound limon from the yuzu zest.
Okay, from cool and abstract to pure, bubbly celebration. Next up is Heavy D and the Boys.
Now that we found love, this is the cherry champagne jelly, 125 calories, capturing that effervescent joy, that smooth celebratory vibe.
A jelly made with actual champagne.
Yes, the overweight lover method, as it's called. It uses strained cherry juice for clarity, quality champagne, the source emphasizes quality, liquid pectin for setting, superfine sugar for quick dissolving, little lemon juice for balance, vanilla, and then subtle hints of rosewater and cardamom for sophistication.
The big technical challenge here must be keeping the bubbles right. How do you capture that champagne effervescence in a set jelly without it all just escaping during the cooking process?
That is the critical technique. You absolutely must add the champagne off the heat. You make the base jelly with the cherry juice, sugar, pectin, and lemon juice, bringing it to the setting point. Then, you remove it from the heat, let it cool just slightly for a moment, and then gently stir in the champagne right at the very last minute before pouring it into jars to set.
So if you add the champagne while it's boiling hot,
Poof! All the dissolved carbon dioxide, all those lovely bubbles, would instantly escape due to the heat and agitation. Adding it off heat, gently, allows some of that effervescence to be trapped within the jelly matrix as it sets.
and you need liquid pectin and superfine sugar.
Liquid pectin helps achieve a clearer jelly compared to powdered pectin sometimes, and superfine sugar dissolves much more quickly and completely, which also contributes to a clearer, smoother final product without undissolved crystals. The goal is a finished jelly that's perfectly clear, jewel-like, maybe even with a few tiny trapped bubbles visible, reflecting the luxury of the champagne.
And the application.
Perfect. Served with fresh scones and clotted cream for a fancy afternoon tea. Or use it as a beautiful shimmering glaze for a cheesecake or fruit tart. Nutritionally, the focus isn't really on vitamins here. It's more about the aesthetic of effervescence and the moderate antioxidants from the cherry juice and perhaps the champagne itself.
Okay, let's talk about elevating simple ingredients, making everyday things special. Naughty by Nature's Anthem comes to mind.
Hip-hop hooray. And this is the cherry herb compound butter, 205 calories, celebrating that art.
Compound butter with cherries. How does that work?
It's the Treach and Vin Rock process. It starts with sweet cherries, but they are slow roasted. Then high-quality European butter, a mix of fresh herbs, parsley, chives, oregano are suggested, a little olive oil, red wine vinegar for tang, roasted garlic for depth, and seasonings.
Okay, the key steps seem to be roasting the cherries and using European butter. Why roast the cherries?
The recipe specifies roasting the cherries at a high heat, 425 degrees Fahrenheit, until they start to caramelize and maybe even get slightly blistered. This does two things. It intensifies their natural sweetness by driving off some water, and it develops deeper, jammier, slightly smoky flavors that you wouldn't get from just using fresh cherries.
And why specify European butter? And the instruction is to brown it.
European-style butter typically has a higher butterfat content, usually 82% or more, compared to standard American butter, around 80%. That higher fat content means less water, which allows it to brown more effectively and results in a richer, nuttier flavor when browned.
And browning the butter itself, that's beurre noisette.
Exactly, beurre noisette or brown butter. You melt the butter and continue cooking it gently until the milk solids separate and toast to a nutty brown color, releasing this incredible aroma. The instruction here is crucial. Brown the butter until nutty and golden, then toss in the fresh herbs briefly, just to crisp them slightly in the hot fat before taking it off the heat.
Then you combine everything.
Yes. You mash the warm roasted cherries, the browned butter with the crisped herbs, the roasted garlic, vinegar, and seasonings all together while the butter is still warm and malleable. Then you typically chill it, often rolled into a log shape.
Nutritionally, this is definitely going to be high in fat because of the butter.
Oh, yes. Total fat is around 20 grams, 26% DV, and the saturated fat is very high at 12G. That's 60% DV. That's butter, after all. However, the infusion of those fresh herbs isn't just for flavor. They provide significant micronutrients, especially vitamin K, around 21% DV, primarily from the parsley, which is essential for blood clotting and bone health, and also some folate.
And how would you use this flavorful butter?
Spread it on thick slices of artisanal bread, melt it over grilled steaks or vegetables like asparagus or corn on the cob, toss it with pasta. Anywhere you'd use regular butter but want a serious upgrade in flavor.
Okay, moving towards soulful nostalgia. Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
They reminisce over you, TROY, a classic. And this is the cherry walnut preserves, 175 calories, capturing that soulful, nostalgic harmony.
Cherries and walnuts, another classic pairing.
It is. The Mecca and the Soul Brother method uses chunked sweet cherries again, toasted California walnuts, brown sugar for depth, and interestingly, port wine, plus lemon juice and zest, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, and a hint of thyme.
Port wine, that's usually a dessert wine or something you sip. What does it add here?
Port wine brings a unique layer of sophistication. It has this deep, rich, slightly sweet, often raisiny or plummy-aged flavor profile that really resonates with that feeling of nostalgia, of looking back. It adds complexity that plain water or juice wouldn't.
And again, the importance of toasting the nuts first.
Absolutely non-negotiable, especially with walnuts. Toasting develops their rich, slightly earthy, nutty quality and improves their texture. The source explicitly links this to Pete Rock anchoring his beats in those warm, soulful samples. The toasted walnuts anchor the flavor of the preserve.
And like the pecan conserve, you need to cook it carefully.
Yes, the cooking process needs to ensure the walnuts retain some of their characteristic crunch, providing textural contrast to the softened cherries, while the cherries break down enough to create that thick, cohesive, jammy preserved texture. It needs to be balanced.
Nutritionally, walnuts are famous for one thing in particular.
Omega-3s. This preserve is a nutritional superpower because of the walnuts. They are one of the most significant plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically alpha-linolenic acid, ALA. This recipe provides a remarkable 2.6 grams of ALA per serving.
And ALA is important for?
It's an essential fatty acid that the body can convert, though inefficiently, into EPA and DHA, the omega-3s found in fish oil. ALA itself is strongly linked to cardiovascular health benefits, supporting healthy blood pressure and cholesterol levels, and may also play a role in cognitive health. So this is an incredibly healthy fat source, making the overall total fat, around 16G, 21% DV, mostly beneficial.
Excellent. Okay, let's move into the health-conscious, alternative hip-hop vibe now. Souls of Mischief.
93 Till Infinity, a laid-back classic. And this preserve reflects that vibe. Cherry kombucha shrub. Very low calorie at just 85.
Kombucha shrub. Okay, we need to define shrub in this context. It's not a bush.
No, not a bush. In the culinary world, particularly in mixology and historical recipes, a shrub is essentially a drinking vinegar. It's typically a syrup made from fruit, sugar, and vinegar, which is then diluted with water or sparkling water, or used as a component in cocktails. They were historically used for preservation and as refreshing beverages.
So this is a cherry vinegar drink base using kombucha.
Exactly. The A plus infesto method is all about using those beneficial bacteria into keeping things low sugar. It uses muddled, sweet cherries just crushed to release their juice. Then cherry-flavored kombucha, which is already fermented tea full of probiotics. Apple cider vinegar with the muv, meaning it contains the beneficial bacteria and yeast strands. Maple syrup for natural sweetness. Lime juice, fresh ginger, and spices like cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, plus fresh mint.
And the key mechanism isn't cooking, it's macerating all the ingredients together for 48 hours. What does maceration achieve here that cooking wouldn't? Why soak it for 2 days?
Maceration is simply soaking ingredients, often in sugar, acid like vinegar, or alcohol, without applying any heat. In this case, the combination of the maple syrup and the acidity from the kombucha and apple cider vinegar gently draws the juice and flavor out of the muddled cherries without cooking them.
And the benefit of no heat?
That's the crucial part for this recipe. Because no heat is applied, all the beneficial probiotic bacteria present in the raw kombucha and the apple cider vinegar with the mother remain alive and active. During that 48-hour maceration period, they continue to work, developing further flavor complexity and enhancing the probiotic profile of the resulting shrub. You're essentially creating a live, digestively beneficial concentrate.
So it's exceptionally healthy.
Yes, it's designed to be very low calorie, relatively low sugar, using maple syrup, and packed with potential digestive benefits. It's defined nutritionally by its very high probiotics content, plus you get some B vitamins naturally produced during the kombucha fermentation, and it's very low sodium.
How do you use this shrub? Drink it straight.
You could take a small shot, but it's primarily designed to be diluted. Mix it with sparkling water for a refreshing, healthy soda alternative, or use it as a complex, tangy, probiotic base in creative cocktails.
Okay, next we have lyrical complexity translated into sophisticated flavor. Organized confusion.
Right, known for their dense, intricate rhymes. This is the cherry lavender syrup, organized confusion stress, 135 calories.
Lavender in a syrup, that can be tricky.
Very tricky. The Faro Munch and Prince Pole process again uses that ultra-concentrated cherry juice base, organic sugar, lemon juice, vanilla extract, and the two key sophisticated flavorings, dried lavender buds and orange blossom water. The complexity here is all about precise timing during the infusion.
The source includes a crucial infusion instruction. Infuse the lavender briefly. Why is time the absolute enemy when you're working with lavender in something edible like a syrup?
Because lavender contains highly potent aromatic oils, primarily linalool and lingyl acetate. These provide that beautiful floral scent and flavor. However, lavender also contains compounds that can become bitter, astringent, and almost soapy tasting if they are extracted too much, which happens easily with prolonged exposure to heat.
So steeping it like tea is a bad idea.
A very bad idea. If you leave those dried lavender buds steeping in the hot syrup for too long, even just an extra minute or two can be enough. You'll go past the pleasant floral notes and extract those harsh, bitter compounds. It will completely ruin the delicate balance. The infusion must be brief and carefully controlled. You basically steep it just long enough to capture the desired floral aroma, then strain the buds out immediately.
And the orange blossom water.
That's added at the end, off the heat. It contributes another layer of subtle, exotic floral complexity that complements the lavender without overpowering it. It adds to that sophisticated, intricate flavor profile that rewards close attention.
Nutritionally, the focus is on the aromatic compound.
Yes, the flavor profile is really defined by the linalool derived from the lavender, known for its calming aromatic properties. This syrup isn't about vitamins, it's about sophisticated flavor.
And its use reflects that.
Absolutely. Drizzling over a simple lemon cake or pound cake, adding it to lemonade, or using it to create elegant floral cocktails where those delicate notes can really shine through.
Okay, finally, we reach arguably the most experimental, technically demanding recipe of the entire collection. Freestyle Fellowship.
Inner City Griots, known for their incredibly complex improvisational boundary-pushing flows. And this recipe matches that. Cherry rice wine vinegar. Extremely low calorie, only 65.
Making vinegar from cherries, that sounds advanced.
It is. The Esolone and Mica 9 method is described as a high-level, controlled, two-step fermentation process. It's true artisanal vinegar making.
2 steps, what are they?
Step 1 is alcoholic fermentation. You start by crushing sweet cherries and allowing their natural sugars, perhaps boosted slightly, to ferment into alcohol, essentially creating a low-alcohol cherry wine or cider base. This uses yeasts, either wild or added.
Okay, so first you make cherry wine.
Step 2 is acetic acid fermentation. Once you have your cherry wine base, you deliberately introduce a specific type of bacteria called Acetobacter. The source suggests using a raw rice vinegar starter to provide these bacteria. Acetobacter consumes the alcohol produced in the first step and converts it into acetic acid, which is the acid that makes vinegar sharp and tangy.
And they add other flavors during this second stage.
Yes. During the acetic fermentation, they blend the base with premium sake, Japanese rice wine perhaps for complexity or specific nutrients for the bacteria, raw honey, and distinctive flavor agents like fresh shiso leaves, a unique minty basil-like Japanese herb, makrut lime leaves for their intense citrus aroma, and pink peppercorns for a mild fruity spice.
This whole process sounds incredibly time-consuming. Making wine, then making vinegar.
It is. This isn't something you whip up in an afternoon. The second stage, the acetic fermentation, requires a long, slow aging period. The source specifies 12 to 16 weeks, that's 3 to 4 months, aging in dark bottles, allowing the Acetobacter culture the time it needs to fully convert the alcohol into the desired level of acetic acid.
Wow, that's real dedication, like perfecting a freestyle.
Exactly. It's artisanal status, proving the deep technical skill underlies even the most seemingly improvisational art forms, whether it's wrapping or fermentation.
And nutritionally, what's the payoff for all that effort?
The payoff is an incredibly flavorful, complex vinegar that is extremely low in calories and sugar. Its main nutritional highlight is its acidity, typically standardized to around 5% acetic acid. Acetic acid itself is associated with various potential health benefits, like aiding digestion or potentially helping blood sugar control, although more research is needed. Plus, during that long fermentation, trace amino acids can develop, adding to the complexity.
And its use.
As a high-quality finishing vinegar, perfect for making unique vinaigrettes for salads, deglazing pans, or adding a final touch of dried acidity to delicate soups or seafood dishes. #TAG-VO, Nutritional Synthesis and Preservation Guidance.
Okay, wow. We have made it through the technical deep dive of all 23 recipes. That was intensive. From aggressive savory jams and rich confits to molecular gels and these incredibly complex multi-stage ferments.
It's an amazing collection showcasing such a huge range of techniques.
Before we wrap up, let's try to synthesize some of the overarching nutritional takeaways. What are the big picture benefits we saw recurring across this entire cherry wrap dynasty collection? Mostly thanks to the star ingredient.
Well, the absolute #1 takeaway, driven by the cherries themselves, is that they function as a true antioxidant arsenal. Virtually every single one of these recipes, regardless of the preparation method, delivers a significant load of anthocyanins and other phenolic compounds.
And those are important because
They are key players in supporting cardiovascular health, helping to combat inflammation throughout the body, protecting cells from damage, and potentially reducing the risk of various chronic diseases. So that antioxidant power is consistent.
we also saw some other specific functional benefits popping up repeatedly, directly related to the cherries.
Absolutely. We noted the presence of naturally occurring melatonin in cherries, which contributes natural sleep support. It might not be a huge dose in a single-serving preserve, but it's there. And we consistently celebrated the vitamin C champion status.
Right, many of them were surprisingly high.
Exactly. Even after cooking or processing, most of these recipes provide a really significant chunk of your daily vitamin C needs. We saw ranges from roughly 20% all the way up to that impressive 58% DV in the cherry orange marmalade.
And then there was that cluster focused specifically on gut health.
Yes, the probiotic power trio, that was the cherry miso ferment, #8, the cherry kombucha shrub, #20, and the cherry rice wine vinegar, #22. These three stand out because they utilize live fermentation processes.
Delivering beneficial bacteria directly.
Correct. They provide beneficial bacteria, probiotics, and often the organic acids, like acetic acid, which can act as prebiotics, food for good bacteria, that are essential for optimizing digestive health and potentially supporting immune function. So 3 very different methods, all contributing to gut wellness.
We also identified some recipes that were particularly good sources of specific minerals, often thanks to the supporting ingredients.
We did. We highlighted the exceptional manganese content in the cherry pecan conserve, #5, which is vital for metabolism and bone health. We saw high calcium in the cherry goat cheese curd, #6, again, crucial for Dones. And the source also mentions zinc in a maple dulce, which wasn't in our part 2 deep dive, but reinforces the point.
And we can't forget the fats. There were some very high-fat preserves, but also some with notably healthy fat profiles.
Definitely. We need to acknowledge the functional fats. The cherry walnut preserves, #18, were a standout source of plant-based omega-3 ALA. The cherry pancetta confit, #4, despite its high saturated fat, also delivered significant monounsaturated fat. And the cherry coconut compote, #3, provided those unique MCT fats. So fat isn't always just fat. The type matters.
And a quick mention for the spicy ones. Any functional benefit there beyond the burn?
Just a brief nod to the capsaicin benefits. The compound responsible for the heat in the onyx ghost pepper jam, #1, and the Cypress Hill Chipotle Mostarda, #17, has been linked in some studies to minor benefits in boosting metabolism and potentially acting as a mild topical pain management agent, though you likely wouldn't eat enough preserve for major effects.
Okay, so after all this incredible technical work enduring high heat, patient, low and slow cooking, meticulous straining, long fermentation periods, what's the final word for the listener who has actually created one of these masterpieces? How long do they last, and how should they be stored?
The general guideline provided across the sources for optimal quality is pretty consistent. Refrigerate all these preserves once opened, and they should maintain excellent quality for 12 to 18 months.
That's quite a long time, even for the more complex ones like the ferments or the confit.
Yes. Cherries themselves possess remarkably good natural preservation properties. They have good acidity, natural sugars, and as we've discussed, they're packed with antioxidants. Those antioxidants don't just benefit our bodies, they also help protect the preserve itself from degradation, helping to maintain both the nutritional value and the complex flavor integrity over that extended storage period in the fridge. The sugar, acid, fat, or fermentation products provide the primary preservation, and the antioxidants help maintain quality. #outro.
What an absolutely incredible journey that was. We've navigated through 23 distinct hip-hop crews and labels and 23 equally distinct, often highly technical, cherry preserves. I mean, the range of techniques
It's
covered.
really something.
From that super patient, low and slow caramelization of 6 Vidalia onions for the UGK chutney to the extreme precision of hitting exactly 165 degrees for the EPMD pancetta confit.
Right through to the modern, almost scientific approach of the Digable Planet's molecular gel using agar, and those incredibly demanding multi-stage fermentation methods for the vinegars and miso paste.
It really underscores a central theme, doesn't it? The connection between the culinary world and the music world here feels so strong.
I think the ultimate lesson, the thing that binds them together, is that genuine innovation, whether it's in the kitchen or in the studio, seems to stem from maybe 3 core principles we saw over and over again.
Which are?
First, that willingness to try unexpected fusion, like putting Japanese miso with American cherries or Middle Eastern tahini. Second, the absolute necessity of strict technical discipline, whether it's blanching citrus peel exactly 3 times or controlling fermentation temperatures precisely. You need the skills.
And the third?
And third, always respecting the regional roots and the inherent quality of your core ingredients, like insisting on Georgia pecans or Vidalia onions when the recipe calls for them. It's about honoring the source material.
That idea, that creative discipline, that underlying craft is what yields the most groundbreaking results. It really comes through. But as always, before we sign off, we want to leave you, our listener, with one final provocative thought to chew on.
Right, so we spent all this time today exploring how these incredible preserves honor the past traditions, both of hip-hop production, drawing on classic sounds and techniques, and of cooking, using methods refined over centuries.
We saw confit, marmalade making, reduction sauces, classic stuff reimagined.
Exactly. But looking forward, thinking about the future of flavor, which of these truly innovative, maybe even disruptive techniques that we explored today do you think holds the most potential? Which one might define the next generation of flavor innovation in our kitchens?
Is it going to be the deep, funky complexity unlocked by controlled multi-stage fermentation, like in that Freestyle Fellowship vinegar?
Or maybe the luxurious textures and preservation possibilities of high-precision fat confit, moving beyond meat into fruits and vegetables?
Or perhaps the artistic potential and pure flavor delivery of molecular techniques, like using agar for perfect gels?
We've given you the deep dive, the techniques, the science. Now it's your turn. Which path seems most exciting? Go explore, taste, experiment, and find out for yourself.